A very good morning to all. On behalf of Jagadguru Nanak Dev Punjab State Open University, I welcome you all to this session of Expert Speaks at JGND PSOU. The purpose of this session primarily is to reach out to the learners who would be interested in knowing certain facts, concepts which only the experts can best deliver to us. So I would now request our Dean Academic Affairs to formally welcome Professor Avtar Singh. And I have to thank Professor Avtar Singh for having connected with us from US today. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, sir, Professor Gurdeep Singh Batra.
Haji, good morning. The key speaker of today's Expert Speak lecture series organized by School of Languages of Jagadguru Nanak Dev Punjab State Open University, Professor Avtar Singh ji. And this program is being organized by under the patronage of Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Karamjit Singh ji, the Head School of Languages, Professor Navleen Multani, Dean Research of the University and DPRO, faculty members of JGND PSOU and outside guests and dear students. On behalf of Jagadguru Nanak Dev Punjab State Open University, I take this opportunity to formally welcome our key speaker, Professor Avtar Singh ji, who has joined us from US, and we are extremely grateful to him for sparing his valuable time. I can well understand it is around 11 p.m. in US, and he is still sitting before the camera to deliver the lecture. This shows his passion and towards the teaching profession and his love and affection for the students, right? I'm extremely grateful to you, sir. So his talk is on Romanticism, a historical perspective. Our School of Language is very active in organizing number of interactive series of lectures for the benefit of the students and the faculty, and this school is doing very well, and about more than 20 programs have been alone organized in the past 1 year by the School of Languages. So I'm extremely grateful to the School of Languages for giving me this opportunity to welcome other guests on this occasion. So I'm grateful to him, and I extend my hearty greetings to him from India, and hopefully he'll be coming back to India, and then we'll have opportunity of any face-to-face presentation or face-to-face talk also in this regard. Once again, thank you so much and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Gurdeep Singh Batra. Thank you for your very kind words. And now I would request Mr. Gursandesh Singh, my colleague, to introduce the keynote speaker of the day.
Dr. Avtar Singh is a professor retired from the Department of English, Punjab University, Butala. Has published 2 books, the novels of E.M. Foster and Perspectives on Western Drama, and about 35 research papers published in various literary journals and books edited by professors of eminence. He has participated in seminars in different universities and colleges and contributed several papers. We are honored and delighted to have such a personality with us today. I request Dr. Avtar to start his session on Expert Speaks at JGND PSOU on his topic on Romanticism.
So, the topic for today is Romanticism, a historical perspective. The subtitle of the talk would be Exploring the Heart and Soul of the Romantic Movement. I'll first define Romanticism, then I'll tell you the characteristics of Romantic poetry, and then I'll touch upon those authors and texts, which are prescribed at your university, so that the topic relates to the students in general. You understand? So Romanticism, is a movement in the arts and literature that originated in the 18th century, emphasizing the primacy of the individual. This is very important. It is characterized by a focus on emotion, imagination, and individualism, as well as rejection of the rationalism and the restraint of the Enlightenment's prioritization of rationalism and order. Now, what I am going to say is very important. Romanticism placed a strong emphasis on creative freedom and individual expression, as well as the celebration of nature and the wonders of the natural world. This is very important. Romanticism also emerged as a response to the Industrial Revolution. That's very important. Industrial Revolution's impact on society and environment. The political turmoil of the era, including the French Revolution. All of us are familiar with what was French Revolution. It has three characteristics: fraternity, equality, and liberty. Fraternity means Bhratri-bhav, Punjabi च कहंदा. Equality means barabarta, and liberty means azadi. So the basic characteristics of Romanticism are focus on individualism, 1, emphasis on nature and the sublime, 2, emotion over reason, rationalism, and science. It was also regarded as a reaction against industrialization of society, industrial revolution. Then freedom of form, was very important, and exploration of the Gothic and the unknown. The most prominent explanation of individualism can be seen in Blake's illustration, William Blake's illustration, a solitary figure in a vast landscape. Blake said, "I must create a system or be enslaved to another man's." This is very important. Blake wanted to see world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wild flower. The chief works of Blake are Marriage of Heaven and Hell and the Songs of Innocence and of Experience. It is the Songs of Innocence and Experience which is prescribed in most of the universities. And, the fact that the Songs of Innocence were published in 1789 and the Song of Experience were published 17 years after. That makes all the difference. Naturally, the dates of publication should ring alarm bells with any student. Innocence was published just before the French Revolution, the practice of which I have just narrated to you. So even though the Songs of Innocence were written for children, its dialogues with corresponding ideas expressed through an adult experience perspective in the Songs of Experience, and Blake's idea of the contraries, which are central to Blake's philosophy. So we should recall that the full title of this work, Songs of Innocence and of Experience, showing the two contrary states of the human soul. This is very important. The lamb and the tiger are representative poems of their respective collections and clearly express the shift from innocence into something more ambiguous and complex. To compare these two poems is fairly predictable to Blake's songs, but it has advantage of clarifying several ideas that run through these works and through romantic poetry in general, and in turn help us understand to approach the criticism of poetry. The lamb, with its rather transparent symbolism and a way of fusing the innocence of the child, is important in bringing to our attention the significance of the child. Childhood is seen as a period of innocence and grace, but not necessarily a state that is ignorant of how the world works. And now, if we go to the text of this lamb, little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Gave thee life and bid thee feed by the stream and over the mead meadow. gave the clothing of delight, softest clothing, woolly bright, gave thee such a tender voice, making all the whales rejoice. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? So, this is the tiger, on the other hand, brings a range of different concerns to us. This poem can be interpreted in many ways. Its interpretation and its mysticism, apparent mysticism, has led many critics to suggest that it is the adult counterpart to the poem. Simple religious ideas, so unambiguously expressed in the lamb, are to be seen in the tiger also. Now, the tiger is again a poem which tells us of his experience. Because there are contrary states, that's why I am referring to the book. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry. This is very important. Fearful symmetry. In what distant deeps of skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize and fire? And what shoulder and what heart could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dead hand and what dead feet? What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, who dread grasps? Dare the deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made lamb made thee? This is very important. The poem ends on a question mark. And the question mark is for us to ponder. The God is regarded as the creator of the universe. He creates the lamb and the tiger, both. Not that tiger is important or lamb is important. So the tiger brings us a range of different concerns. And it can also be read as a criticism of the Industrial Revolution. It asks if a creature like the tiger could ever be manufactured. Can its brain be created in a furnace? Can its limbs be hammered into a shape? It's a poetic rejection of the Enlightenment's attainment and the majestic work of God. The other poems which depict the contrary states are the nurse's song. Now, the nurse's song of innocence and experience are equally important. The nurse in the Songs of Innocence is an innocent creature. And she, nurse is a common feature in British society. And, whenever the child is up to a certain age, it's given to the nurse to bring up the child. It's a nurse, who gives basic education to the child, and she, who creates everything for him. When the voices of children are heard on the green and laughing is heard on the hill, my heart is at rest within my breast and everything else is still. Then come home, my children. The sun is gone down and the dews of night arise. Come, come, leave off play and let us away till the morning appears in the skies. The children are also very amenable to what the nurse says. The nurse is a teacher in British society. No, let us play, for it is the children respond, for it is yet day and we cannot go to sleep. You must have seen children resisting their teacher or their parents to come home immediately. Cannot go to sleep. Besides, in the sky, the little birds fly and the hills are all covered with sheep. Well, go and play till the light fades away and then go to home to bed. The little ones leaped and shouted and laughed and all the hills echoed. So this is how it's a nurse's song of innocence that I have explained to you. If we compare it with the same nurse is the same, children come and go, nurse never goes out. She has missed the matrimonial bus now. Now, when she has missed the matrimonial bus, she has become a spinster. And the children come naturally. Different sets of children have now arrived on the scene. And you will see the language is the same, but it undergoes several changes. When the voices of children are heard on the green and whispering are on the dale, the days of my youth fresh rise in my life. You know, that nurse has missed the marriage ceremony, matrimonial bus we call it. And my face turns green and pale. Why? What have I lost? My youth is gone or going, and I am unable to find a partner in life. Then come home, my children, the sun is gone down, and the dews of night arise. Your spring and your day are wasted in play, and your winter and night in disguise. There the nurse is very amenable. She allows the children to continue to play. But here, in this poem, because she herself has missed the matrimonial bus, that has made all the difference, and attitude has undergone a change so far as this is concerned. The another poem, which you have to compare and then see how, in innocence, the chimney sweepers. Chimney sweepers were those people who those children, they at the advent of the industrial revolution, what happened was that children were to alight to go above the chimneys to clean them of smoke, of soot, and they had to go early in the morning, at 2 in the morning probably, when the chimneys are cold. Otherwise, the chimneys would be very hot. You cannot alight the chimneys during the day because it's very difficult. So, when my mother died, I was very young, and my father sold me while yet my tongue could scarcely say, sweep, 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 sweep. He had to sweep the smoke carbon out of the chimneys. So your chimneys I sweep, and in soot I sleep. Tear lag janda niche. There's a big pile of soot, and on the soot he sleeps. There is little Tom Decker who cried when his head, the curl like a lamb's back, was shaved. The children's heads were shaved because the heads, the soot on their heads caused obstruction in their work. So the mill owners, they tried to shave off the heads. Hush, Tom, never mind it. For when your head is bare, you know that the soot cannot spoil your white chair. And so he was quiet. And that very night, as Tom was sleeping, he had such a sight that thousands of sweepers, Tick, Joe, Ned, and Jack, were all of them locked up in coffins of black. And by came the angel, who had a bright key, and he opened the coffins and set them all free. Then down the green plain, leaping and laughing, they run and wash in the river and shine in the sun. Now, this is how the innocence works. But in the song of experience, the same child, becomes a revolutionary. It is said that the song of experience are born out of the agony in the poet's soul. And naturally they create a different expression. And you look at the language of the songs of experience. When the same chimney sweeper, a little black thing among the snow, crying, sweep, sweep, in notes of woe, W-O-E, woe. Somebody asks a question, where are thy father and mother? Say. He says, no, in Blake's words, Blake's language, in Blake's philosophy, the priest, the king, and the parents three P's are responsible for the children's depravity and poverty and everything. Understand? So they are both up and gone in church to pray. They have gone to the church to pray. Because I was happy upon the heath and smiled among the winter snow, they clothed me in the clothes of death and taught me to sing the notes of woe. I am singing the notes of misery. Notes mean songs of misery. And because I am happy and dance and sing, they think they have done me no injury. And are gone to praise God and his priest and the king. God, priest, and the king, they are the enemies of human beings in the Blake's philosophy, who make up the heaven of our misery. They make up like some, autocrats, they do like this, that they make a heaven of the misery of somebody. So this is, and one poem that is common for Wordsworth and also for Blake is London 1802, that is prescribed for your study, and London of Blake. Now, the London of Wordsworth, Wordsworth invites Milton. He remembers Milton in that poem and says, you come to this place and see how things have changed. And the society has become so corrupt that you can, by coming to this place, can reform the world as such. How the society has become corrupt is to be seen in London. I wander through each charted streets, he says, near where the chartered Thames does flow. Chartered means demarcated, well demarcated. And marks of every face I meet, marks of weakness, marks of woe. In every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every band, the mind-forged manacles I hear. Mind-forged manacles are man-made laws, man-made restrictions on our movement, on our freedom. Now, the man-made restrictions, how they influence the society as such. How the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalled. And the hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls. But most through midnight streets I hear, how the youthful harlots curse. Youthful harlots, is a curse. The creation of a prostitute the institution of prostitution is a reflection on our marriage phenomenon. But most of midnight street I hear how the youthful largers blast the newborn infant's tear. The infant's tear, newborn infant has given birth by a prostitute, cannot claim of a father. And blights with plagues the marriages. Now it's a great reflection on the concept of marriage, institution of marriage as such. So this possible interpretation reminds us the way in which the romantic reaction to the reaction of the world of enlightenment is constantly present in romantic poetry, and one that we should always be aware of. The terrible sense of deception, the realization that the norms of humanity that writers such as Blake has held had been utterly betrayed is another element common in early romantic writing, because Blake was regarded as the first of the romantics. So the second, characteristics of romantic poetry is the love of nature. This can be explained by Wordsworth's poetry. Wordsworth found, as all you know, books in the running brooks, sermons in stones. Books in the running brooks, sermons in stones. To him, the meanest flower that blows can give thoughts that do often lie too deep for tears. So the major works of the poet are The Resolution and Independence. This Tinton Abbey is prescribed for you, Ode on Intimations of Immortality. However, it is in the shorter poems that have made him more famous as a romantic poet. She dwelt among the untrodden ways. 3 years she grew in sun and shower. I wandered lonely as a cloud. The world is too much with us. The Salty Reaper, The Skylar, Mutability, Ode to Duty, London 1802. Of all the poems of Wordsworth, the Prelude is a long poem in 14 books, which depicts the growth of the poet's mind. The main theme of the poem is that society is disappointing, but nature presents solutions caused by the society. Specifically, Wordsworth focuses on the on how disappointed he was by the Industrial Revolution and contrasts this with nature, which is shown to bring people peace, joy, calm, rather than violence, false hope, destruction, and backlash. You know what was said in the prelude? One impulse from vernal wood can teach you more of man, of moral evil and of good than all the sages can. All our sages, saints, philosophers, they are they cannot teach you anything about nature as the direct contact with nature will bring. The second important point of Wordsworth is resolution and independence. Resolution means the resolution is, Wordsworth found redemption through faith in God. Therefore, the resolution of the title of the poem's resolution and independence is to submit himself to God, and independence means independence from nature. Wordsworth said, nature never did betray the heart that loved her. This is Wordsworth saying. Nature never did betray the heart that loved her. Now, the poem with which we are specifically concerned is the Tinton Abbey. In the memories, specifically childhood memories of communion with natural beauty. Wordsworth said in the preface to lyrical ballads that Wordsworth wrote, Wordsworth and College both joined together to do a book called Lyrical Ballads, of which Wordsworth wrote the preface. And he said there, poetry, what is poetry? He says, poetry is a spontaneous source of powerful feeling, recollected in tranquility. So we have to discuss in greater detail the lines, written a few miles above Tinton Abbey. It was written by Wordsworth after a walking tour with his sister. The description of his encounters with the countryside on the banks of the river Wye, W-Y-E, River Wye, grows into an outline of his general philosophy as such. So, Tinton Abbey is young Wordsworth's first great statement of his principal great theme, that the memory of pure communion with nature in childhood works on the mind even in adulthood. Because he is visiting, if you know the situation in the poem, he is visiting the say Tinton Abbey, the site, River Wye, after 5 years, along with his sister. So his mind today has become very mature, and adulthood offers some kind of fascination for the laws of nature. So memory, imagination, worship of nature, and religion are the themes found in the lines composed a few miles above Tinton Abbey. The themes of worship of nature and religion also overlap the poem. Now, if we come to the poem proper, the first few lines, 5 years have passed, 5 summers with length of 5 long winters, and again I hear those waters rolling from their mountain springs with a soft inland murmur. Once again do I behold these steep and lofty cliffs. Then he shifts, the mood. Green to the very door, the wreaths of smoke sent up in silence from among the trees with some uncertain notice. as might seem. In our then how nature, nature gives him solace in our weariness. That is very important. That you know nature solves his problems of isolation, loneliness, weariness. I have in hours of weariness, sensation sweet felt in the blood and felt like along the heart and passing even into the purer mind with tranquil restoration. Feelings too of unremembered pleasure, such perhaps as have no slight or trivial influence. While with an eye made quiet by the power of harmony and the deep power of joy, we see into the life of things. We are saying into life of things. In darkness and with the many shapes of joyless night, when the fretful star unprofitable, and the fever of the world having had on the meetings of my heart, how oft in spirit have I turned to thee? How oft in spirit I have turned. I have remembered you when you are not present on that sign. See, of Sylvan Vai, though wandered through the woods, how often has my spirit turned to thee? And then he says the sounding cataract. Sounding cataract means when the cataract, you must have seen chishma. Chishma ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਚਸ਼ਮਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਤੇ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ. So that sounding cataract haunted me like a passion, and tall rock, the mountain, and the deep, and the gloomy wood, their colors and their forms were lent to me an appetite, a feeling and a love that had no need of a remote charm. Then all its aching joys are now no more, and all its busy raptures. He laments the loss of these things. Then what he does is to look to nature, not in an hour of thoughtless youth, but hearing oftentimes the still sad music of humanity. This is very important. Still sad music of humanity is important. Nor harsh nor grating, though of ample power to chasten and subdue. Then what he says is emotion and spirit that impels all thinking things, all objects of all thought, and rolls through all things. Therefore, am I still a lover of meadows and the woods and mountains and of all that we behold. So this is how Wordsworth works in his romantic creation. This is the last line. We stood together, me and my sister, and that so long a worship of nature hither came unwearied of in that service, rather say, with warmer love, oh, with a deeper zeal, oh, holier love. Nor wilt thou then forget that after many wanderings, many years of absence, those steep woods and lofty cliffs and this green pastoral landscape were to me more dear, both for themselves and for thy sake. He talks about how the woods have become very dear to him. So, what we find in English romantic literature is delving deep into the restorative power of nature. This is very important. Restorative power of nature. The passage of time and the connection between humanity and environment. Wordsworth reflects on romantic themes through his focus on imagination, emotion, and the poet's love of appreciation of nature. Wordsworth, through the poem Tinton Abbey, has shown where to establish a better world and a better life, and has taught us how a close relationship with nature could be created in order to give birth to a peaceful and harmonious life in the world. He advises everyone to learn from the past. Past is a great teacher. Yes, Eliot said, we should not be concerned with the pastness of the past, but with the pastness of the present. How past is relevant to the present is very important. So, the past reorders the present. That's what T.S. Eliot said. The next poet in our classification. The shorter poems of Wordsworth are important, particularly Salty Reaper. The message implied is that he sees the lowliest of the low, a woman, Scottish girl, cutting and binding the grains at one and the same time, and how nature gives a permanent, makes a permanent impression on the state of his mind. In the lines, the music in my heart I bore, long after it was heard no more. And when you see a beautiful picture, and when you come home, sometimes you try to repeat the songs or the lines or the dialogues from that picture. It also happens quite soon with us. Then in she dwelt among the untrodden ways is what examines the Lucy girl, who died young. Then one of the poems that I would like to talk to you is Daffodils. I wandered lonely as a cloud. What daffodil describes what the experience of seeing a field full of daffodils and reflects how a simple encounter with nature can bring joy and inspiration to his life. Oft when on my couch I lie, in happy or in pensive mood, they mean the daffodil flowers, flash upon that inward eye. Inward eye is the eye of the mind. That is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. This is very important. No, Coleridge and Wordsworth both, wrote lyrical ballads. And Coleridge also wrote Biographia Literaria. That's the most significant literary work of general literary criticism produced in the English Romantic period. Undoubtedly, it was the preface to the lyrical ballads that set in motion the coming of the Romantic age. His greatest strength, Coleridge's greatest strength, is as a romantic poet, are on display in such works as the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, the poem that is prescribed for you, Christabel and Kubla Khan, which are not prescribed for you. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, the longest major poem written in 1797-98, is about a man of voyage, a person, sailor, by ship, who in one impulsive movement, commits a heinous crime, which changes the course of his life and death. So the mariner faces the inner struggle over the crime he has committed and must understand his actions and perform the penance. This poem, is a story of sin, means crime, punishment, and redemption. The three things that you find in this poem. It also is a kind of supernatural fascination with the mystical that Coleridge had, and the Gothic and the exotic that is to be seen in the Ancient Mariner. It was Thomas Hood, who said, "Ghosts of all things past parade, emerging from the mist and shade." Naturally, we have to discuss in greater detail the poem prescribed for your study. This poem is considered as a seminal work in romantic poetry, exploring the constant connection between humans and nature. This is important. Humans and nature. The poem begins with an old grey-bearded sailor, the mariner, stopping a guest at the wedding ceremony to tell him the story of his sailing voyage he took long ago. It's a kind of catharsis working on. Catharsis, is a Greek word used by Aristotle, which means an outlet of one's emotions. The moment you give an outlet to your emotions, your art becomes easier. It's not that burden. The burden is lessened by sharing your grief with somebody else's. So the poem begins with an old grey-bearded sailor, the mariner, stopping a guest at a wedding ceremony to tell him the story of sailing while he took long ago. Naturally, the wedding guest, the guest who's going up, the situation is that they are standing much below, and the church is up where the wedding is taking place at that time. The wedding guest at first is reluctant to listen. As the ceremony is about to begin, and the wedding guest says, I am the next of the kin. But the mariner's greeting eye captivates him. That's a greeting eye, captivates him. The mariner tale begins with a ship departing on its journey. Despite initial good fortune, the ship is driven south by the storm and eventually reaches the icy waters of the Antarctic. An albatross appears and leads the ship out of the ice jam, where it is stuck. But even as the albatross is fed and praised by the ship's crew, the mariner shoots the bird. With my crossbow, I shot the albatross. The crew now is angry with the mariners, believing the albatross brought south wind that led them out of the Antarctic. So they regard this as a bird of good omen. However, the sailors change their minds when the weather becomes warmer and the mist disappears. It was right, said they, such birds to slay that bring the fog and mist. So they soon find that they made a grave mistake in supporting his crime, as it rouses the wrath of the spirits, who then pursue the ship from the land of mist and snow. The south wind had initially blown them north, now sends the ship into an uncharted waters near the equator, where it is become, where there are no winds. Day after day, we stuck, nor breath nor motion, as idle as a painted ship upon a painted ocean. And then all the crew members, they face one situation which is common, that the whole ocean in which the ship is sailing is poisoned. They think that it is poisoned by the snakes. Water everywhere. And still the boats did sink. Water everywhere, and not a drop to drink. The very deep did rot, O Christ, that ever this should be. No, they cursed the. Yeah, slimy things did crawl with legs upon slimy sea. This is how the punishment, factor comes. When they support, when they support the mariner in adopting this kind of attitude that he did the right thing, they become accomplice. All the crew members, they become accomplice in his crime. And so, naturally, they have to suffer along with him. The sailors change their minds again and blame the mariner for the torment of their thirst. In anger, the crew forces the mariner to wear the dead albatross about his neck, perhaps to illustrate the burden he must suffer from killing it, or perhaps as a sign of regret. Ah, well, a day. What evil looks had I from old and young. Instead of the cross, the albatross about my head, about my neck was hung. So after a weary time, the ship encounters a ghostly hulk. No, the supernatural element is introduced in the poem in the form of a dialogue between death and life in death. Death, wins the dice, that is played by the two. And death claims the lives of the crew members, that are 200 in general. And the life in death claims only the mariner. Because it is through mariner's sufferings. Mariner's sufferings is very heroic, you could say. Heroic in the sense that He is the hero of the poem in the sense that he brings the moral of the poem long before us. His name is a clue to the mariner's fate. He will endure the fate worse than even that's the hero. Hero is always a larger than life picture, larger than life portrait that you find in several heroes. So the mariner must suffer and he should be heroic in his suffering. That is very important. One by one, all of the crew members die, but the mariner lives on, seeing for 7 days and nights the curse in the eyes of the crew corpses, whose last expressions remain upon their faces. 4 times 50 living men, 200. 4 times 50. And I heard nor sigh nor groan, with heavy thump, a lifeless lump, they dropped down one by one. The souls did from their bodies fly. They fled to bliss or woe, and every soul that passed by me by, like a whiz of my crossbow. So, actually, eventually, this stage of the mariner's curse is lifted when he begins to appreciate the many sea creatures swimming in the water. It means his redemption. I told you in the beginning that the poem is a story of sin, punishment, and redemption. Crime, punishment, and redemption. Redemption is when you are redeemed of your sins. Despite cursing them as slimy things earlier in the poem, he suddenly sees their true beauty and blesses them. Now, when you bless others, suffering creatures, so you win their sympathy, and then the curse is lifted upon you. A spring of love gushed from my heart, and I blessed them unaware. And he manages to pray. Earlier his soul was tormented. He couldn't pray, he couldn't rest. The prayer can be performed only when you are alone and when you can, rest in life. As he manages to pray, the albatross falls from his neck, and his guilt is partially expiated. As penance for shooting the albatross, the mariners, driven by the agony of his guilt, is now forced to wander the earth, telling his story over and over, and teaching a lesson to those he meets. He prays best. This is the moral of the poem. He prays best, who loves best. All things, both great and small. Everything is important. All you. Gurbani, there is a line in Gurbani. Khasme nazari kida ave, yete tuge dane. Yete tuge dane. So all things, even the insects are important. Fishes are important. Everything is important. For the dear God who made us, he made and loveth all. After finishing his story, the mariner leaves, and the wedding guest returns home, waking the next morning as a sadder and a wiser man. Sadder? Sad he is, no doubt about the first suffering, but he becomes wise, during it. So, all the different aspects, of romantic poetry, of romanticism, are united in the poetry of John Keats. In his poetry, we find the love of nature, sensuousness, supernaturalism, medievalism, Hellenism, and the love of beauty. I told you in the beginning that Blake stands for imagination, Wordsworth for nature, Coleridge for supernaturalism, Keats for beauty, and Shelley for his philosophical outlook, or for his Platonism. All these characteristics are embedded in the poetry of John Keats. A thing of beauty is joy forever, its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness. And the famous line of Keats, beauty is truth, truth beauty, that is all you know on earth and all you need to know. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter still. Nothing ever becomes real till it is experienced. And then he says, I am certain of nothing, but the holiness of the heart's affections, and the truth of the imagination. This is important. Keats believes that poetry should not teach, but merely reveal the reader the poet's intuitions and the meaning of the universe. His conception of poetry as a revelation is intimately linked to his mature conception of poetic beauty. He said, if poetry does not come to me as naturally as leaves come to the tree, it had better not come at all. This is very important. That the spontaneity in Wordsworth and the spontaneity you find in this, if poetry doesn't come to me as naturally as leaves come to the trees, it had better not come at all. So his major poetic works are Ode to Nightingale, Ode to Migration, Ode to Autumn, Ode to Melancholy, Ode to Psyche, Ode to Indolence, Bright Star, La Belle Damsel, Mercy, Endymion, Hyperion, When I Have Fears That I May Cease to Be, Lamia, the Sea of Eve of Saint Agnes, and Sleep and Poetry. So the 2 points that are prescribed for you of Keats are first, the Grecian Urn, second is the Ode to Nightingale. Now, the main theme of Grecian Urn are the passage of time, desire and fulfillment, and transience and impermanence. The relationship between art and life. The poem explores the idea that art is eternal and unchanging, while fleeting and impermanent. Ode on a Grecian Urn examines the close relationship between art and beauty and truth. For the speaker, it is through beauty that humankind comes closest to truth, and through art that human beings can attain this beauty. Though it remains a bittersweet achievement, it's a complex, mysterious poem with a disarmingly simple setup. An undefined speaker looks at the Grecian urn, which is decorated with evocative images of rustic and rural life in Greece. These scenes fascinate, mystify, and excite the speaker in equal measure. They seem to have captured life in its fullness, yet are frozen in time. The speaker's response shifts through different moods, and ultimately the unprovoked question more than it provides answer. The poem's ending has been and remains the subject of varied interpretation. The urn seems to tell the speaker, and in turn the reader, that truth and beauty are one and the same. Though the poem was not well received in Keats's own day, it has gone to become one of the most celebrated poems in the English language. And written in 1819, 2 years before the poet's death, Ode to Nightingale explores the themes of mortality, transience, and permanence. In other words, it explores art and life. The poem is inspired by the song of a nightingale that has made a nest in the poet's garden. The poem's superficial scope is the nightingale, which represents both nature and death. The poem's concept of negative capability suggests that art might allow us to remain unbound, but our limited human conception of existence, you know. In Ode to a Nightingale, Keats relates Nightingale to a creature of mythological proportions by calling it a light-winged dryad of the trees, and by stating that it conveys as much truth as the fabled Hippocrene. The Song of the Nightingale is what inspired the whole piece, which sort of shows Keats' stream of thought as he listened to it. He was haunted by the music and described it much meaning relating to death, life, and what comes after life on earth. The theme of death is evident throughout the poem, even without knowing the background information of Keats' brothers passing away. The poem opens immediately with the somber tone and with references to the lethal Hamlet contributing to the overtones of death. The second stanza mentions that he wants to leave the world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim, fade far away, absolve, and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever, and the fret. Here where men sit and hear each other's groan, grumble. Where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin, and dies. Where but to think is to be full of sorrow, and hidden-eyed despair. Where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, her new love pine at them tomorrow. It is impossible to read this poem and not pick up on the general notion of death and dying that preoccupied Keats. Death is even personified in the as it is directly addressed in 6th and 7th stanzas of the poem. It's ironic that the poem, so filled with tones of death, also features the theme of immortality. The first hint, as it is in the first stanza, with the mention of the leaf liver. Leaf liver is the liver of forgetfulness. The river is in the underworld and symbolic of the existence beyond the life. Later in the same stanza, the writing it is even referred to as an immortal world. So we come now to the last poet, Shelley, Ode to West Wind, is a poem that shows the power of the of of the poet. A radical in his poetry as well as in his political and social views, Shelley did not achieve fame during his lifetime. But recognition of his achievements in poetry grew steadily following his death, and he became an important influence on subsequent generations of poets like Robert Browning, Swinburne, and Thomas Hardy. American literary critic Art Bloom describes him as the superb craftsman, a lyric poet without rival, and is surely one of the most advanced skeptical intellects ever to write a poem. His major works are Ozymandias, Ode to West Wing, to a Skylark, Prometheus Unbound, The Scholastic Necessity of Atheism, which he wrote with his friend T.J. Hogg, may have co-authored it. So all these poems, they relate to this. But what I want to emphasize is the Skylark. The Skylark is a poem, with the power of nature and the human spirit. The skylark symbolizes happiness, which is found in nature. Shelley addresses the bird directly and praises the purity of music and contrasts it with the sad, hollow human communication. And, you know, he says, our sweetest songs are those that tell the saddest thought. Our sweetest songs are those that tell the saddest thought. And, we look before and after and pine for what is not. Our sincerest laughter will come in some pain fraught. Our sweetest songs are those that tell the saddest thought. So it remains quintessential to romantic poetry. Another poem that Keats wrote, Shelley wrote was an elegy on the death of Keats that is known as Adonis, Adonis. It's a pastoral elegy, a lament on the symbolizing on the death of Keats, his friend and talented poet John Keats. The poem themes include relationship between man and nature, immortalization and birth, rebirth, and the influence of art and beauty. Shelley and Keats were both harassed by the reviewers, and it is said that about Shelley that in others' tears he wept his own. In others' tears he wept his own. The tears of the mourners will not bring back Keats to life. In hours of Keats' death itself is mourning. So we have to, in conclusion, we have to emphasize the enduring impact of Romanticism on literature and arts. The romantic emphasis on nature, emotion, and individualism can inspire the modern world. As Wordsworth said, the world is too much with us, late and soon, getting and spending, we waste our powers. This is how this lecture comes to an end. If you have any questions, you can always approach me with your questions and with any explanation that you need, anything that you require from me at my end, I am always willing to help you. This is all. Sunday Singh ji. Yes, what were you saying?
Very wonderful talk, I must say, Professor Avtar Singh ji. You have very nicely delineated the whole trajectory, the blending of the thoughts of Wordsworth, Keats, Shelley, Blake, whereby we
the human beings, with whom the word is too much, are to learn many lessons from them. And they are a fusion of, as very nicely mentioned, that they are a fusion of imagination, philosophy, and some kind of insights, which are very much required for the youngsters, for people, for learners, who are trying to understand the historicism with respect to English literature. And also, I think, sir, your lecture today would be of great benefit to all those students, who are starting to learn about the history of English literature, and who are trying to understand what poetry is, and what these concepts, negative capability, or whether it is some kind of blending, which is leading to a spiritual level. So I'm so grateful to you, sir, that it's late night in the US today, and you have spent your time to be with us. And also, it would be a pleasure having you on the offline mode when you're back to India. And I have great words of thanks for my Dean Academic Affairs, who, despite his very busy schedule, made it sure that he formally welcomed you on this online platform. I thank my colleagues and the moderator, my colleague, Mr. Gursudev Singh, the junior technician, Mohanjeet Singh and Maninder, for their support. And we will definitely share with you the recording of this lecture. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.